Hi everyone, welcome back to Total War Therapy, and today we're gonna find out what is the leadership, how it works and all the factors, negative and positive, that affect this stat. In short, what the game is not telling you. Hi, I am Alberto, I'm a real person, and here you will find a beginner's guide, a battle, unit roster, tier list, ranking and many shorts, so if you wanna support the channel, please consider to subscribe. First, let's answer to the question, what is the leadership? If you think about it, the leadership or the morale is the most natural thing of the world. Consider even the real warfare. A battle was not over when you annihilated the enemy army, but it was over when you forced. Given the unit losses or other factors, you were forcing the enemy to leave the battlefield, to retreat, to rout, and to accept the defeat. According to the game, then, the leadership is the measure of a unit's will to keep fighting. If a unit's leadership level drops too low, the troops will waver and then they will rout from the battlefield and stop responding to orders. Broken routing units can also rally and come back into the fight. So basically everything that can happen in a fantasy game, like there is a big monster that is scaring you, someone is charging you from the back, your lord died, or your friends are routing, all these things can affect your morale, so your will to keep fighting even when the conditions are not the best. The most important factor that affects the leadership of your units is the damage sustained. Now, I haven't found, unfortunately, the proper sources to give you this information, so I just took them from an old video of Zerkovich, that is one of the most important YouTube channels revolving around Total War Warhammer 3. And even if the numbers may be not correct after so many years, I want you to understand just the main rule behind that. So, the factor that affects most the leadership of your units is how much of their health, of their hit points, got lost during the battle. So if they lose half of their health, they may lose, not temporarily, even half of their leadership. Okay, but we're talking about the points, so you understand that if it goes from 2 to 78, if the unit has only 40 of leadership, even losing half of the health will force this unit to rout. Another two important factors are the damage sustained in the last 60 seconds and in the last 4 seconds. What does it mean? It means that if you are charging a unit from the back and at the same time you are casting a spell that reduces leadership and you're surrounding this unit with all other units, even if the damage sustained is not that big to cause the unit to flee, this combined damage of these three factors, so the damage sustained for all the battle, the last 60 seconds and the one of the last 4 seconds, all combined will force the unit to rout, okay, to leave the battlefield. And then there is another factor that is the losing currently, that it may change. I mean, depends on how much the units is currently losing against the other units. So in short, what you have to know about this factor is that if you lose enough health, this will cause a severe damage to your leadership too. And if this damage is caused all together in the very last moments, the loss of leadership can be even bigger. And then if the units are losing a combat against another unit, this will provoke another downgrade of the leadership. The second factor that we're gonna talk about are the flanks. Especially when you're building your army formation, you have to be sure that your units are covering the flanks of each other. It doesn't mean that the unit at the border, at the extreme, that has one flank not secure will not benefit of this buff. But you have to be sure that most of your units will get at least one flank secure. If they don't get a flank secure, so the flank is exposed, they will suffer a loss of leadership of 3 points. But if they are protecting each other, they will get a bonus of 5. That can be be very important, especially for your front line, for example, because if they have to suffer all the damage of the main enemy army, the charge of cavalry monsters, they can suffer severe leadership losses. That's why this bonus can be great for them. Another thing that is very important to say is that there are some downgrades of this. For example, if the enemy wizard casts a wind spell, this wind spell can cover multiple of your units if they are in the same line. But talking about leadership, of course, it's better to get them all together to protect each other, the flanks. The third factor is if the unit is attacking you and especially charging you in the flank or in the rear. If they charge your flank, you will get a less 6 of leadership, while if they manage to circle you around and charge you in the rear, you will suffer a 14 loss of leadership. Of course, this is temporary, he will not last forever, but for many seconds you will suffer of this loss that, if combined with the damage sustained and other attributes like can be the fear, the terror caused by the monstrous cavalry that may attack you from the back, all together they can in very few seconds force your unit to rout. So you have to be extremely careful to always, have some units that protect your flanks, as we said before, or even that, they protect your back with some very low infantry that can, can be a deterrent to the enemies that try to circle you around and to penetrate from inside your formation. Another quick factor that I would like to mention is when you are on high ground. So if basically there is the enemy that is down the hill and you are at the top of the hill, you will get this 10% bonus. That it's great, okay? 10% more is a lot. Of course, this depends on the map where you are playing your battle. But at the same time, consider that if you state that, of course, there are many advantages on keeping a high ground over the map, but you will get also this increase of your leadership that may be very helpful. The next factors that we're gonna talk about are the presence of the Lord nearby the unit and the encourage ability. Let's start with the Lord. If you click on the Lord, you will see that there is this aura, this circle around him. All the units that are inside and even a little outside this circle will benefit of this plus of leadership of 4 points that in the campaign you can even increase, and you can also increase the size of the aura, so they can cover a far bigger area of your army, and even they can even grant more points. Even other characters have this ability, that is the encourage ability, that grant 4 points, and that's why it's very important that you keep at least one lord or character close to every unit of your army, so everyone can benefit of this increase in leadership. An important rule that you have to know is that only the larger bonus count. So if you get a unit with the encourage ability and the lord nearby, it will be just the bigger of this bonus that mostly is the lord that you can increase in the campaign. Only that will count. So if you have a unit with encourage ability that generally we're talking about the very elite soldier, I mean, try to keep them in a position far from the lord, or you can use the lord in a more versatile way, because they kinda don't need you anymore in the middle of the army to give this bonus, and you can just this unit can do the job of the lord, and the lord, if it's a spellcaster, can go to cast spells just in face at the enemy army, for example. Two other important factors that affect negatively the leadership of your units is, first, if the lord recently died or fled from the battlefield, or if there are some friends routing. Let's start with the first. The Lord, as you know, is the most important, the key unit of your army, and since is this very essential element, if he died or he fled from the battlefield, that is even worse, he will cause this loss of 16 points to the leadership of all the units. Not only the units that are nearby, that experience, that witness the event, but even the units that are, hidden in a forest very far from the battle. They will all suffer this loss. Even, as I said, if the Lord just fled from the battlefield, or for your choice, or because, his leadership got shattered. Now, this effect is temporary, so it will end. So in case you have to fight a very important battle, probably it's better, to wait a few seconds, few dozens of seconds to let this debuff to end, and then attack, because otherwise this loss of leadership is crazy and can make the difference on your fight. The other factor is the friends routing. Friends routing, if they are not expendable, this is very important, okay? If they are expendable, the units that are not expendable, they don't care about friends routing. Otherwise, they got affected. That even this can be dangerous. That's why sometimes you can experience that if a unit of your front line start to rout, many other units will start to waver, to wave, and then to rout themselves. This happens because because they suffered this loss of leadership. So be very careful of units routing or dying, because this can affect dramatically your leadership values. Okay, a quick explanation of the ability Expendable that I just mentioned. Basically, there are some units in this game that have the Expendable attribute. This means that if they rout, generally they are, very low tier, so low leadership units. But if they rout, their routing will not affect the leadership of all the other units of your army, except unless if they are expendable units themselves. So in other ways, units with expendable units will, units with the expendable ability, their routing will affect other expendable units, but not units that are not expendable. Anyway, if you need any personal help, you can contact me on Fiverr. If you are struggling with the campaign or how units and mechanics work, for transparency, the price of 1 hour class is $18, that given Fiverr commission and Italy taxes is around $9 to me, so don't worry, I'm not getting rich. Now let's address the mysterious fear and terror. Basically, you can expect that if a monster is charging your troops may be naturally a little scared, a little frightened by the presence of the monster. And these factors work in the same way. The fear is generally the attribute given to the lesser monsters, okay, to the beast, that are scaring but not that much, and they will cause a drop of 8 points of leadership that will affect all the units in a certain area. So not only the units that will be directly hit by the monster, but even the units that are just in the area. And the units with the fear attribute, they will not suffer from fear themselves. And then there is the terror. The terror is the upgrade of the fear, and that means that the units with terror also cause fear, and they are also immune to fear and to terror, of course. Now, this is not a drop of point, okay? They will not cause any more decrease of leadership. But if the unit that they are attacking, and in this case if they are directly hitting them, if this unit, the leadership of this unit drops below 13, there is a chance, of course linked then to the melee defense, the leadership, the hit points, and many other factors, that this unit, even if haven't reached the critical points to rout, will rout itself anyway. Okay, they will terrorize this unit, and this unit, even if they still have a lot of health and a lot of leadership, they will, lot of leadership, more than 13 or leadership, they will instantly routing. Here there is another ability to mention, that is the immunity to psychology. In case a unit got this ability, he will be immune to fear and to terror. That is something, for example, of most of the Slanesh unit, that basically they will not suffer of any leadership penalty if they got attacked by a monster. Another factor that it may look not important, but actually it is that when a unit is suffering the fire attack of a missile infantry, a missile units, or by an artillery, this unit will suffer a drop of the leadership. If it's about the missile infantry, missile cavalry, or some units that are not artillery, this drop will be of only 5 points. But if they are attacked by an artillery, this may arrive to 10 points. That is a lot, especially if you consider the combined effect of your unit that is approaching, is marching against the enemy troops, and during this march he is suffering both the damage of some archers and the damage of some mortars, some artillery, and this effect combined, they can cause 15 drop of leadership, that all together with the drop of health and so on, they can actually force the unit to rout. So be very, very careful and try to spread the damage of the missile units and the missile units of the enemies to multiple units. So it's not just one that have to absorb all this reduction of leadership. Another ability that is very important to mention is the Unbreakable attribute, that basically grants infinite leadership to the unit, that will reach symbolically 100%, but actually doesn't mean anything. The most important thing is that this unit will not suffer of any leadership penalty, and not even of the buffs, of course. So it will just fight till the end. This is about the most stubborn units according to the lore, like the slayers, that they will die to fulfill their job. So they don't care about any all their will is indestructible, is unbreakable. They don't care about nothing. Another very, very important factor that affects the leadership are the abilities and the spells. Now, of course, I cannot dive into all the different and the hundreds of abilities and spells that buff and debuff the leadership of the units. But it's important, to know that there are some characters that can reduce your leadership. There are some units that can increase it. There are some magic that in an area can decrease the leadership of all the units, or just of one. So always be careful of that. You need to be expert about everything. To be successful in this game, unfortunately, I know that, but just have a quick check if there is a big ability, a strong ability of the enemy character, of your character, that can affect drastically the leadership of your units. Another fundamental topic to address before the end of the video is that there are some units, like the undead and the demons, that they don't work in the same way of the other units regarding leadership. That because they, instead of wavering in their routing, they will start to cause damage to themselves when their leadership drops down. This is very important, and for me is a downgrade. Of course, together with these abilities, they will get many bonuses related to their essence of being undead, of being a demon, like physical resistance, immunity to psychology, and so on. But at the same time, instead of leaving the battlefield, so just losing them for the battle, you will lose them for the eternity, because they will just die. In case of the undead, they have the Crumbling, that it causes less damage per second when the leadership is broken, but far more damage when the leadership is shattered, so where they are supposed to rout. For the demons is the contrary, because they suffer more damage when the leadership is broken, so when they're supposed to wave, but even less more damage when they are wavering, but they will suffer less damage when the oh my god, I don't know. Okay, sorry. I hope you understand. So basically, when the wave, they cause damage to themselves. When they are routing, they cause severe damage to themselves. And at the end, at that point, you just lost them forever. That is very, very bad. So you have to be extremely careful about leadership with them. Okay, don't make mistakes, because otherwise you will lose the units. And if it's, you know, a very experienced unit that you upgrade a lot, it's a great loss. It's a great loss. Okay, the last part of the video, and probably one of the most important, will be about how the leadership works when the units start to wave and then to route. Even these elements I took them from the video of Zerkovich. That is a little old, so I don't know if they're still correct, but yeah, I'm not a data miner, so I have no idea how to get this information. I didn't manage to take it from any other source. In any case, we can say that when a unit drop below 16 of leadership, they start to wave. You can see this from the blinking of the unit banner in the map, and this will last 16 seconds. So for 16 seconds, no matter what happened, they are not supposed to route. Okay, they will wait these 16 seconds before routing. If within these 16 seconds the level drop down below 0, and you cannot change the situation for 2 seconds and a half, the unit will route. If the unit wave for 4 times, so 1, 2, 3, 4, at the 4th they will instantly routing. They will not wave, they will just route. And if they drop down 25% of health in like very, very few seconds, they will route immediately. I mean, if they remain with just 25% of the health in very, very few seconds. Now, the main rule of that, of course, is that when you see that a unit is visibly wavering, so it's blinking, you should, just have a look, check if with some ability, with some spell of your lord, of your spellcaster, or with other, of all the factors that I explained to you in this video, you can, try to increase the leadership to not make it reach the 0 critical points, so the unit will not route at the end. I hope that this video explained to you everything that you may want to know about leadership. Follow me if you enjoyed the video, and see you very, very soon.